Hi everyone, Connor here from Team Blockdaemon, and today I'd like to welcome you to our very first Blockdaemon hosted webinar. The topic of today's session is multi-party computation, or MPC for short, and how this technology can be used by institutions to improve their key security and storage solutions. Blockdaemon has acquired Sepior, a leading provider of MPC solutions, and joining us today over the next half hour are some of our in-house MPC experts, who will be explaining how Sepior makes Web3 safe, how Blockdaemon is using Sepior, and how institutions can integrate Sepior, as well as some use cases. Our experts today include Ahmed Tonke, founder of Sepior, Vincent Kobel, Senior Director of Cryptography and Security Engineering here in Blockdaemon, as well as Larry Zong, Head of Corporate Development here in Blockdaemon. As for myself, I am your host, Connor Kevill, and without further ado, let's jump in to this discussion about all things MPC. So Ahmed, I'd like to kick things off with yourself. If you could give the audience a brief primer of what multi-party computation is, for those who may not be familiar with the technology, and why it has become a preferred tech for securing private keys, particularly in the digital asset market.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. Of course. So the idea of multi-party computation goes back a few decades. It was originally worked by Yao, which is a researcher in cryptography. And the question he asked is, can computations be done with encrypted data? Effectively multiple parties, they want to reach a consensus. The answer to a computation, it's a very general purpose idea. The answer could be a number, could be yes, no, could be something more complex. Can this be done with multiple parties that know their own secrets, but have no interest in sharing their secrets with anybody else? So the classic problem is, several people are in a bar. They want to know who made the most bonus last year, but they're too humble to say it out loud. So each of them can take their, whatever bonus, they can encrypt that number, and then they can all introduce this encrypted number into a joint process, and the answer will be correct. So MPC is a way to compute unencrypted data, which guarantees privacy and correctness. That's basically it at a 30,000-foot level. Now, one of the things that can be computed with MPC, of course, they're getting far more complicated, but they're effectively signatures, things for transaction signatures for cryptocurrencies. Typically, those signatures use standard algorithms and schemes that have been around again several decades. There's not a whole lot of new in terms of cryptography in the crypto asset or digital asset world. It just borrows a lot of stuff from previous work. Very common in Bitcoin, Ethereum, so forth. They use schemes like ECDSA, EDDSA, and those signatures can also be computed with MPC in a distributed setting. So the idea is that, well, how do you make these systems more secure? Effectively, you have multiple parties signing a transaction, whether it's a transaction to move assets, to buy, sell, trade, custody, whatever, anything you can imagine in cryptocurrency and digital assets really comes down to cryptography. So the more parties that are actually participants in this process, the more secure you are. And if you can do this in a distributed way where you can have assurances that individually these systems or the parties are secure, it's a lot more difficult to compromise the system, because an attacker, malicious actor, insider, they would have to get to each of these MPC nodes, the parties that actually do the computation, at the same time. And you can imagine settings where these are either individuals on mobile devices, there could be machines, they could be servers, they could be web servers all over the world. They could be jurisdictionally, protected or diversified somehow. So it just, nothing is really. There are systems that are 100% secure, but things like, transaction signing and things like that, they just have to be the best we can possibly get them. And MPC provides those tools, and it's sort of really a match made in heaven for things like this. And in fact, if you look at some protocols like Bitcoin, They have multi-sig and some other mechanisms to emulate this sort of a thing. And then you can also do this with smart contracts with Ethereum. But the problem with those, that way of doing it is it either costs, you have to either pay for it because you're doing this stuff on chain, or you have to do it through a smart contract. So MPC does all this stuff most likely off chain. It emulates the way multi-sig works. It's extremely fast, diversified, cloud friendly. So in a nutshell, this is kind of the best tool we have today.
That's great, Ahmed, and I appreciate you setting the scene for us there. And you touched on a few of the potential use cases. So, Vincent, I'd like to turn to you next to get your take on where the demand for MPC technology solutions comes from today, and what use cases exist. Perhaps expanding on what Ahmed just mentioned there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Connor. So, yeah, as Ahmed mentioned, MPC is extremely versatile, right? It's a technology that can be applied to many issues. But for us, at least here at Blockdaemon, what really interests us is the ability to perform cryptographic signatures in a completely distributed way. So, I used to work in the custody industry, and we used to have those fat HSMs. And nothing wrong with that, right? Those are really interesting piece of technology, and they can perform signatures very securely, but they come at a cost, right? And you have to protect the data center, you have to protect the hardware. And the good thing with MPC is you still have to protect that, right? But you distribute it. So in a way, it's also more blockchain native, right? Blockchain are natively decentralized, and so is MPC. The idea here and the way I really see this being used is not only as a signing mechanism, right? Because we can see this with the one of the Sepior product called the TSM, the cryptographic library, and the MPC wallet. So that's very specific use cases, but you can also extend that to more use cases such as offline or off-chain Oracle systems. In such cases, you have the need to certify some data coming from different sources. And one of the way of doing this at low cost for on-chain proofs is with a single signature being computed by many nodes, potentially 5, 10, whatever number, even greater than that. And it all boils down to one signature on-chain. You could also have, 10 or more different cryptographic keys and different oracles signing or attesting the piece of data that you want. But then the cost of doing that on chain, and this is really closely related to what Ahmed mentioned with smart contracts, is quite high. You have to pay for the fees.
That's great, Vincent. And just in terms of the customers who would potentially use this technology, what kind of institutions in the crypto ecosystem or the wider blockchain space would potentially be interested in such a solution?
So yeah, different, I think, customer cohorts here. We have obviously the crypto natives. I think those are quite appealing to MPC technology is quite appealing for those because they already have this decentralized kind of perspective on things. But obviously banks, right? Even though the banks traditionally uses, they use HSMs, and they are really big on IBM and sort of past technology like this. I think it's also very interesting for them. And why not big tech, right? We have the Google of this world, Apple of this world. They have wallets, they have financial technologies, and I think they would be very good candidates for MPC technology.
Brilliant. And just to zoom out a little bit, Larry, you've been with Blockdaemon for over a year as the head of corporate development. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the long-term vision for Blockdaemon, its acquisition strategy, and also how did Sepior, with all of this amazing technology, fit into that vision?
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Connor. Super happy to be here. Yeah, I'm really excited about what we're building at Blockdaemon, right? At our core, what we're aiming to do is to provide a single integration for any institution to connect to the blockchain. And obviously that can mean a lot of different things. And what it means to be a crypto infrastructure company is very loosely defined. And through our growth, Blockdaemon is constantly seeking to evolve and redefine that label. Ultimately, we're a crypto enablement company that can power institutional crypto needs and services through a pretty robust multi-product portfolio. And since I joined Blockdaemon a little over a year ago, we've accelerated this mission by completing 3 major acquisitions and a number of strategic investments in joint ventures. And all of these have been in different areas, from data products, crypto on-ramp and off-ramp, APIs, to now Sepior, which is our latest acquisition. And I'm really excited to talk about Sepior for a number of reasons. Sepior was the leading independent multi-party computation company. And we're really impressed by the technology that they developed, right? And like Amit mentioned, in essence, it's allowing multiple parties to compute a function of their inputs without disclosing what those inputs are to anybody else. And, for us, there's a lot of key application when it comes to key management and key generation, and being able to have the flexibility to, have hot wallet liquidity, but cold wallet security. So if you take a step back and zoom out, this acquisition really made a ton of sense from a number of different vectors. First, it bolsters Blockdaemon's reputation of being the all-in-one crypto infrastructure platform with a powerful independent MPC product. Second, this technology will augment our entire product platform, from our Ubiquity API to our staking products. And lastly, we acquired a very terrific and impressive team, 15 folks across California and Denmark, now including Amit on this call as well, that we're very happy to call Blockdaemon colleagues now. So in a nutshell, the Sepior acquisition will accelerate Blockdaemon's goal of providing institutional-grade crypto technology infrastructure that simply nobody else in the market right now can provide, with a fantastic team that will continue to carry us into the future.
That's great, Larry. And you touched on the infrastructure, the tooling. Amit, one thing for you that I'd like to bring up is that Sepior was the first to introduce an MPC-based wallet to the market in 2018, and recently introduced the advanced MPC wallet. So I'd like to ask you, what are some of the key differentiators of that wallet compared to other options in the market, and what makes the technology suite stand out against competitors in the blockchain space, or even the wider technology ecosystem?
Yeah, thank you, Connor. As I think we've discussed, MPC's been around a long time, and it's available in different formats from different companies. Often the research in MPC is, it's not the most popular field if you're in university and so forth. But so the research is concentrated in a few areas, and without a doubt, the quality of and the reputation of the team that's behind the cryptography is sort of the essence to how good this stuff really works. So we have a great team. It's anchored by our known researchers like Ivan Damgaard, Jesper Nielsen, Jacob Pachter. So these were the guys that actually built the first practical MPC system back in 2008, about the same time. Actually, Bitcoin came about a year later. And those were pretty high performance clearing price matching systems, essentially a blind auction setting. So you can build all this fantastic machinery, but at the end of the day, if an MPC system is asked to sign something, could be anything, sign a hash, generate a signature, it will do it beautifully. But in the digital asset setting, where we have bearer assets, effectively, if you have the key, you have the asset. The protection of the private key is essential, but just as important as that component is the policy engine that says, okay, all conditions have been met to conduct this transaction. So what we had for many years, so we built a system back in 2018 for a major Japanese bank. I think it's SPI Holdings, we can name that. And this was for a self-custody treasury. Effectively, it's a big bank with its own assets, a custody application, a very sophisticated system. But effectively, the issue of a blind signing, you can tell this fantastic MPC machinery to generate a signature and it will happen. blind signing was always known. So our real main goal with the wallet component on top of the TSM stands for Threshold Security Module. You can imagine that as being a pure software, pure cloud, virtual HSM. It's a soft HSM. So on top of the HSM, now you build application layers. So we provided this MPC tech for a number of years. Now we want to provide the wallet tech, which has the policy engine built into it. And the main difference is that the policy logic is also MPC cryptographically signed in a multi-party setting. So all you're trying to do here is to eliminate layers of security gaps. And so this is an attempt to, it's actually a pretty nice approach to eliminate that. The other thing about MPC solutions is really not so much what the specific algorithm really is. It's how a solution has been engineered from a total perspective, because you're only as good as your weakest security link. So the wallet eliminates a lot of that stuff because we can run some of the approvers on mobile devices, for example. So we are taking advantage of the biometrics and like the trusted secure elements in mobile devices to run these nodes, execute the protocols. Also, the other things you need to engineer are if you want to be able to sign offline, for example. I mean, actually, Larry made a great point. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is provide liquidity with the liquidity of a hot wallet with the security of a cold wallet. I mean, that's a very nice way to describe this. So we want to cover scenarios where a signer, like on a mobile device, could be offline or air-gapped. And to do this, you need some stuff, things like pre-computation of signatures and things like that, which we have patents on. I mean, the other nice thing about Sepior is that we've got a fantastic patent portfolio. A lot of the stuff that we actually engineer and sell is protected with our patents. And those are not per se related to MPC. They're related to engineering a solution. Things like recovering a lost device or a lost share. Emergency recovery, backup of your key shares. These are above the protocol layer or sort of ancillary to all this stuff. So the wallet is really designed to be a multi-currency, very high performance, very secure, chain specific, because you gotta, now you're actually doing stuff with tokens or currencies. So it's just building more on top of the MPC core functionality that we've been selling for a number of years.
Very interesting. And something that you said there that stood out to me was that the technology enables institutions, companies to access liquidity as a hot wallet, but also get the security of a cold wallet. And, yep. You know, one of the things I suppose traditionally in the industry, many companies have struggled with are the complexities and expenses of managing keys, which secure applications, as well as that liquidity and data across cloud and institutional locations. Vincent, one thing for you is Sepior has developed a solution by providing threshold security modules, but how does TSM enable protection and sharing of sensitive data?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, first of all, yeah, the TSM is, I think, Sepior's first product, right? And it's also the one I use as a customer, a few years ago. And it really shines because it's versatile, and it's really, I think, the only SDK on the market. So the stuff that allows you to build software in a very easy way and with MPC. So it doesn't matter the number of nodes that you want or the type of setup that you need. You could have any defense in depth kind of setup, meaning that you could choose to deploy nodes on different region, if you use cloud stuff, or maybe even within different cloud service providers or data centers, and even protect that further with confidential computing and secure enclaves and whatnot. And I think, yeah, really the flexibility here is key, and it allows many use cases. So one of them is obviously what Ahmed described, like a policy engine, right? You want to have approval from different type of software, or even the same software run in different parts of the world or different environments, or even different software. And you want them to prove something. So it can be a policy engine, it can be a key management system. Right now you have cloud native key management system on AWS or on GCP, but the trust model is you have to trust the CSP fully, because if they want to listen to whatever you want to do, they can. Of course, they say they don't, but that's part of your threat model, the stuff that you need to be aware of when you develop and conceive an application. And it's even more true if you are in Europe or in Asia or a certain part of the world where you don't necessarily want to trust the big American clouds. And I think with the TSM, you can totally do that. Not only you can put one node on AWS and one node on any Azure cloud or even a European data center, but it really allows you to do a lot of different computations. And yeah.
You mentioned there, Vincent, the topic of trust and how institutions, companies want a more trustless setting for much of this. Larry, one thing I'd like to ask you is, what are the emerging trends that you see that are driving, maybe the adoption of MPC, and also what are the changes in a company's approach to procuring and using MPC?
Yeah, like Ahmed and Vincent both mentioned, historically, the technology that the Sepior team developed was really used to enable and empower, key management workflows. And it has a lot of use cases outside of the crypto and digital asset sphere. Increasingly, crypto native institutions are starting to open their eye to the power of MPC tech and the critical role that they play in securing assets and keys. And frankly, no technology is immune to hacks or bad actors, and it's especially prevalent in DeFi and crypto. And through MPC cryptography protocols, Blockdaemon can now provide another layer of security that was previously much more vulnerable to these attack vectors. And so what we want to do is give customers the toolkit to customize and tailor their in-house needs to build the solution that they want. And we can do this by both providing clients a turnkey solution with the wallet technology that we're developing, or give you the Lego pieces with the TSM nodes. And so this will give our customers the flexibility to really better serve their own users under whatever internal regulatory or compliance guidelines that they must follow, while supporting the necessary features that they see fit.
Excellent. Yeah, well, that just about wraps up all of the questions that I have on my side. Does anyone have any wrap-up thoughts, any closing remarks that you'd like to share? Anything that you'd like to highlight or perhaps double-click on before we wrap up?
Yeah, Connor, I think just one thing that's worth just mentioning here is, actually, Larry made an excellent point. MPC actually has fantastic use cases completely outside of digital assets. Things like code signing, privacy preserving statistics, database encryption, email encryption, and stuff. Basically, when you look at a key management system, it's pretty essential to the way modern communication systems work. Signing digital certs and things like that. So actually, a lot of our use cases are entirely outside of our the crypto native markets, but right now we're very much focused on the use cases that Blockdaemon is also focused on, and the one area, of course, that our business has is really regulation, and often the technical solution has to enable the service provider to be compliant, and things like controlling key shares, whether it's a full custody, shared custody, treasury, or self-custody. There are very different models of how different consumers of this technology touch the crypto asset. For some people, it's just a transaction. For others, it's cold storage. For others, they got to balance, cold wallets during the day. It's their operations folks and whatever. So I think we should just recognize that regulation is very early in this market, so nobody knows what's going to happen in a few years. And MPC allows you to gives you that flexibility, so you can support any of these models as this stuff evolves. And even if your business, if our customer, we have a lot of large bank customers and exchanges and so forth, if they want to morph their business model into something a little bit different than what they have today, they can do it fairly easily using our technology. So I think the regulatory aspect is something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Ahmed. And the compliance topic, as you mentioned, will probably become more important over time.
Something I just wanted to add is also the high availability, right? When we talk about cloud native systems, we usually mean that they have to be highly available. And this is something where the HSM, they have to sacrifice some security in favor of higher availability, because you need to generate the key at some point in one single location on an HSM, and then you need to export it and back it up on other HSMs. And obviously, if one of those is not secure or leaks the key, during the process of moving, exporting, importing the keys, this is dangerous and it lowers the security. With MPC, you kind of get this benefit for free, right? Because you can do threshold cryptography, meaning that only a subset out of the complete set of signer nodes can sign. So if you do something like 3 out of 4, then you can allow for one of your node to be down at any given time. And it comes for free in terms of security, because you don't need to move the key material around and to reconstruct the key ever. It just shards that are spread across the whole cluster, and it works like this. And same with every kind of backup system that you need. And with also I just wanted to also briefly mention the key ceremony that we have in the HSM world. Key ceremonies are extremely hard to perform well, right? This is also highly regulated, and I'm not saying that MPC is the magical answer to all of this, because you still need some form of tight control when you initially create the key material and distribute that across the whole cluster. But I think it's just easier, and meaning less expensive as well, because the key is really generated in a completely distributed way, potentially with nodes spread across the whole world. So I think this is also a very compelling argument for MPC technology.
Fantastic. And maybe one last question for yourself, Ahmed. Maybe do you want to talk to us a little bit about the team behind all of this technology, maybe this team over at Sepior who have developed it and been on the journey with yourself so far?
Yeah, of course. I think this is kind of one of my favorite topics, so I could talk forever on it. But I think a lot of credit goes to the foundational work Ivan Damgard started at Aarhus University probably over 3 decades ago, and he was a peer of Dr. Yao. And there was a lot of collaboration in the early days. I mean, the whole MPC community is really quite tiny. Of course, now it's of deep interest, because there are many systems that look like MPC. Actually, Bitcoin itself is sort of a distributed system. So Ivan, and then effectively the whole team in Aarhus, the majority are PhDs. In fact, most of them are PhDs, and they're students of Ivan. And we have a founder, Jesper Nielsen, who's actually one of the highly cited researchers in MPC. Jacob Pachter, who's our CTO, and of course now is at Blockdaemon, head of engineering. He was in the team along with some of the other guys in the company that actually built this clearing price matching system for Danish sugar beet auctions, which, if you're a history buff, it's a fascinating area. But the story there is that when you have high valued assets like licensed spectrum, energy from the Baltic Sea and things like that, and you're trying to find spot pricing for these things in real time, and you can't trust the players in this auction, there's no better way to do it than MPC. And something else to add to Vincent's comment about high availability is really performance. Some of the MPC systems that we built, because they're sort of cloud native, they can be they're horizontally scalable to tens of thousands of transactions per second. And try to do that with an HSM system in a in a tier 3 data center somewhere, it just doesn't It's just a different approach mindset. So I think the team is a combination of both crypto research and just solid engineering. You can never separate them. I mean, you just can't. And every time we touch the code, we're really careful not to mess around with the cryptographic components of it, because our crypto algorithms are actually, we have security proofs, which means mathematical proofs of these algorithms, both by our team and third parties. I mean, if you're trying to sell this stuff to a big bank, why should they trust you? Well, first of all, they got to know who you are. So if the team is not known, there's a kind of a thing called, rolling your own cryptography, which a lot of people do. This is not recommended. Just go get this stuff from people who've done it right, and they can back it up. They have a reputation around this stuff, and they have third-party proofs. There's some excellent companies that actually do this for a living. So I think the whole, just the aspect of, why people do this is as important as what they do. And, this is the only thing that, Sepior is focused on. It's sort of a hedgehog. We got one trick, and we're going to do this better than anybody else. So that's what the team is about.
Very good.
If I might just add one thing onto that. I mean, this is one of the things that we just love most about this acquisition. And, Blockdaemon has had multiple experiences to interact with the Sepior team. And really, there's a close cultural fit. And successful acquisitions are really about the people. And, like Amit mentioned, the team has deep technical and security experiences. The majority of the technical team has cryptography PhDs. Many were former graduate or doctorate students of Professor Ivan Damgaard, who is one of the co-founders of Sepior and considered really, I think, in essence, one of the godfathers of MPC. So yeah, I'll just conclude with the remarks that, I and the rest of the team are really excited about the next few months of integration. The technology, the team, really fit our, sort of entire ethos, our product portfolio, like a glove. So I think this made all the sense in the world, and super excited to have all of these guys on board.
And on that note, Larry, Ahmed, Vincent, thank you very much for joining today. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks, Connor.
All right, we can cut the recording there if you want. But yeah, appreciate the input, everyone. It was really great.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah. Have a great day, guys.
This is great, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, guys.